Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is one of my favourite games of all time, and back in 2004 when it launched, I was fascinated when iPods were being played. Now skip forward to 2025 and we got Vicstar making terrible AI videos, and well, what is the height of what AI can do? Well, I'm about to find out. So I'm going to see what happens if I let ChatGPT play KOTOR 2 for me. The rules are very simple. ChatGPT will control the build for my character and my companions. It will decide how we level up, what skills are used, and what to equip, and it will make every major story decision. So planets, quests, dialogue, pretty much everything is going to be down to AI. But with that all wrapped up, let's get straight into it. I won't lie, I was very happy with the build it gave me. It decided I was going to focus on Insanity and Force Lightning, so that also meant I was going to have to play as Darkside User, which is the story I prefer. However, what the actual fuck is the name it has given me? It will also give me all these base stats, and I won't lie, I was kind of happy with what it gave me, and pretty much from here on I'm only allowed to boost my wisdom. The bigger concern was the fact that it said I can't go past level 4, the reason because apparently I'll become a Jedi on Telos. Considering I've seen people been trying to use this as a guide in the first game, I'm really hoping they stop doing that because this has given me zero hope. But since it says I won't go past level 4, I guess I'm not going to do that and I'll just be handicapped for the planet. But Peragus will go just like normal. It tells me to farm Krea's dialogue for dark side points, which naturally I do. After that we go meet Atton, and then we see T3M4 gets hit like Nagasaki. And I won't lie, in the underground bit, this random mining droid absolutely carried me. Considering I didn't put him in patrol mode, he still attacks if the enemies get close enough, which meant he just started storming through the entire area. At this point, I'm already level 4 before the Harbinger even docks, which means no more leveling up for me, which means no more free heals if I get a bit too low. The turret section here I've always hated and gave me PTSD from my last video. If you've seen it, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. But with that done, we pick up Krea and Atton, and Krea is the more important one here because according to ChatGPT, her and HK47 are going to be my main crew members. I also forgot I had the Assassins with Lightsabers mod, so naturally, being level 4 here, it was absolutely miserable. There's nothing else of note that happens on Peragus, he just wants me to play through as normal, so we simply just do that. I mean, I'm still stuck at level 4, but I do finish Peragus in just over an hour, which is pretty good timing considering ChatGPT was absolutely useless so far. And if you thought it was going to get any smarter, you were absolutely wrong. I mean, look at whatever this is meant to mean. The only thing I could really gather from this, it wants me to side with Zerka, so that's exactly what I did. There's not a lot it can tell me to do, so pretty much all I did was steal the droid, run Lux's missions, kill her about 5 minutes later, and then help Zerka fight off the mercenaries. And that Citadel station practically done, but I now have to do my favourite part of Telos. Normally on the surface, I bring Atton with me just because he can get back up when he gets down, but because I have to take Krea with me because she's my main party member, that's what I do. And I won't lie, looking at the build it gave for Bayodor, I was expecting it to be a lot worse, which means it may not be a complete disaster. The builds are fine, it just has no idea what's going on in the actual game. And I won't lie, Telos service played as miserable as usual because Bayodor is weak and just constantly goes down. ChatGPT did want me to raise his influence, which you can do by saving my favourite person in the entire game, this random Twi'lek. If you ever try to save him, you'll know exactly what's wrong with him. He got soft-locked here, he simply would not move from this one spot, so I essentially had to give up, but I also then couldn't kill him for dark side points, so I just lost him both ways at once. But after that, we just kill the big droid as usual and head over to the polar region. This is important because we need to kill the HK50s for the HK47 part. This is because it wants HK47 to be my other main companion except Krea. Also, Atris holding this lightsaber definitely isn't any form of subtle foreshadowing. But with that, Telos is done. We recruit the Handmaiden, who is basically not going to get used for this game, and I have to start fixing HK47. Fun fact, if you want to finish HK47 as quick as you can, then head over to Dantooine and Nar Shaddaa because you can buy parts from both the vendors there. In my playthrough, they happen to just both be selling the droid processor, so to get the chassis, I flew back to Telos where you can fight a bunch of HK50 droids once you step out of the main shuttle area. And in about 5 minutes, HK47 is now built. I was happy where it picked next. It told me to go to Nar Shaddaa, so it at least has some form of sense, for that is one of the most common planets to go to first. The strategy it gives me is simple. I need to just rack up dark side points like a nutcase. To do that, it's pretty simple. I just tell this random man to start killing himself, which he does instantly. I then wipe out the Sekiro thugs because I couldn't convince them to attack the exchange before then attacking the exchange myself and just killing them all. That was enough to trigger the Red Eclipse takeover. However, I decided before doing that, I needed to go to the docks. This is so I can trigger the main quest later on. Sadly for me, threatening to kill Lutra triggers the Nihilus cutscene, which means I'm stuck watching this for about 5 minutes since I can't just skip it. Luckily for me, I'm a giant nerd, so I have the pylon puzzle memorized. And fortunately for me, Mothman sees me as a British man with no teeth and assumes I'm a heroin addict and gives me drugs as a reward. The only good thing about these drugs is I can then use it when I decide to charge right into the Red Eclipse fight. And during this fight, I learned that HK47 has the moves. I mean, just look at these kicks. I might have to start building melee, because he's got the strength for it. It might have to be done. And since it wants me to max my dark side points, I then become king of the slavers, and basically sell this random dude who tried to sell my ship to them. Unfortunately for me, Visas Mar then shows up. Like I said, it triggered the scene earlier, so I have to fight her straight away after doing the red eclipse thing. But luckily for me, she does give me the forbidden lightsaber lens. That means Beodur can stop saying it to me. But with that done, I'm then locked into the planet's main quest, where we get approached by the walking carpet, and Atun gets into the slowest, most boring fight in the entire game because, well, I haven't had a chance to build him yet. After that, it's then time for me to start crawling through the Jet, and then we also see what happens if you choose to pick the bear. The one thing I hate about the restored content mod is the random fighting with your companions to try and get to the docks, because my god, it is such a giant slog. Luckily for me, unlike the first game, T3M4 is actually useful, and his section in Nar Shaddaa is quite quick and easy. But then we have to follow it up by doing more slogging through enemies, which takes a long period of time. And then I ask who should I be taking to Goto's yacht, and it tells me to send T3 and HK, which are the units I've been sending quite a lot recently. This is quite good because on Goto's yacht you get a little boost for your droids, which gives them +1 dexterity, which is great. The only issue is I have no ranged weapons that are any good here, so the entire section takes me far longer than it should have. So pretty much I'm just scouring the entire area for the data pad so I can pull off really good tricks, mainly like this one with the minefield. Since I've discovered it, it's so easy because it means I don't have to fight any of those droids. But with that, we blow up Goto's yacht and then pick up a companion I'm not going to use in this playthrough or any others. And then we head off to fight Handlebar's man, aka this useless Jedi Master, who is by far the easiest fight and the most forgettable. But with him defeated, that's Nar Shaddaa done in just under 2 hours, which is honestly quite good timing for me. And at this point, the ChatGPT tells me I need to prestige into a Sith Lord and then just keep leveling up like I have, aka just boosting wisdom to the moon. And in case this wasn't a weird enough run, have a look at the main menu. It decided to drop on me right now. I genuinely think I'm going to lose my mind finishing this playthrough. Before I move on to the next planet, it does tell me to turn Atun into a Jedi, so that's what I do. Before then, it tells me I need to go to Dantooine. And like every other planet so far, ChatGPT genuinely has no idea what's going on, but the consensus is still the same of just be as dark side as possible and try and max out those points. The main thing it keeps focusing on is boosting influence of Beodur, and it wants me to clear the Kinrath Cave. I don't have any issues with this since it's a lot of easy credits, and Beodur influence is good because it wants me to make everyone a Jedi at some point, and also I get a bunch of lightsabers to boost my wisdom and stuff to make my force powers even better. Honestly, it upsets me how small Dantooine is in the second game compared to the first. I really do forget how much the first game had in comparison, because there's nothing else to really do at this point except send me to the Enclave. I came here thinking I was going to boost HK-47's influence by killing Joron. The issue is Kreia will always be Kreia and just gave me a lovely loss of influence as is expected. The thing is, I was expecting the influence loss with her, but I was expecting HK to be proud that I killed someone. However, he seems to just ignore the fact that I did this. And to make things even worse, I then get to pick up the worst companion in the game, Disciple. My favourite thing about Disciple is he triggers about 1,500 unskippable cutscenes. Coincidentally, 1,500 is also the amount of subs I'd love to get to, preferably at some point this year. So honestly, please help. After that, we're hit with the world's worst ambush, where I'm trying to work out whether the enemies are just a bit weak compared to my level, or if ChatGPT has actually given me a decent build. With that though, I head back to the Kinrath Cave, and Rook actually attacks me on sight, which is something I've not had before, so at least the AI is giving me a bit of a unique experience for a game I've played for over 20 years. Of course, Rook actually runs away the second he gets beaten, and somehow Conquest himself didn't see him running out of the cave. Obviously, I agreed to help because ChatGPT says so, so I go around crippling a bunch of innocent men and threatening a man's dying family for money. But with that, it's just the attack on Kunda, and I'm convinced if Zeron ever became a Jedi, he would be a man of just pure peace. I mean, this man's tanking about 6 of us at once. It is absolutely ridiculous. But of course, that leads to the final showdown with Rook, and surprisingly, he absolutely cripples my health. I'm convinced he is definitely the strongest Jedi Master because I've always had issues with him just absolutely tanking me, and also the fact that he just keeps force healing, which drags it out for so much longer. But like any wise gamer, I just run around in circles to heal before eventually stunning him, which then just gets him stun locked and he just dies naturally. My reward for all this is some credits and the joy of watching a man decide to kill a woman for trying to make a planet stable. This is why we don't do nice things. But with that, Dantooine is officially done for now, and since I'm level 18, I can then just go to the Handmaiden, which is my favourite part of this game, for no reason whatsoever. But with Handmaiden then turned into a Jedi, that just leaves Beodur to convert, which is something ChatGPT wanted me to do. And I'm happy to announce that ChatGPT also knew to send us to Onderon next. I was scared it was going to send me to Korriban instead. It does say, however, I should take Beodur and HK47 as my main party members, mainly to get Beodur's influence up. Also, this scene here where I had a bunch of droids around me to approach the bounty hunters I felt was pretty cool. But the whole point of Dxun is getting Mandalore's influence up and just helping him out. So I used Beodur to fix anything computer related before going to the Lost Mandalorian for extra influence. In my heart, I wanted to kill him for dark side and HK influence, but Beodur still needs to be a Jedi. Spoiler alert, this wasn't enough for him to become a Jedi. That does mean I'm not taking him to Onderon for anyone who actually knows how his influence points work. The reason he's not become a Jedi, and I blame it entirely, on this one Twi'lek and Telos who got stuck. Yes, if I'd gotten him to the entrance, he would have probably given me enough influence points for me to make him a Jedi, so I consider this a pledge to kill him every time I play, light side or dark side. I've just had enough of him. But after that, I decided to turn this beast into a Van Gogh tribute before Mandalore decides he's going to send us to ISIS. I won't lie, the Sith ambush had me worried, not because I was close to dying, but because of how long it was taking me to kill things at this point. On Onderon, I do have to take Mandalore, and it tells me to take HK47, so at least the HK47 part is at least continuous. I decided to get to Beast Confusion because it's a bit of a weird power, and I had a lot going around. I wanted to see if there's any unique dialogue for retaming the wild beast. Fun fact, there isn't. He'll just stand there for a while until you do have to kill him again. I'm also never playing this character's head again because it changes Captain Riken's head. I mean, look at this. This is the most disgusting thing I've seen. It just looks wrong to me. The bald captain is my captain, and I'll have it no other way. And since ChatGPT wants me to kill Kavar, I essentially just have to become a Vaklu Glazer, and that starts with just removing all the captains. Sadly, because it hadn't told me to level Persuade at this point, I couldn't persuade one of the captains to leave the Cantina spot, which once again led me to a unique situation where you pay off this random thug who will threaten him to leave anyway. As I normally have Persuade up, he normally just leaves, so again, it was a nice unique thing I hadn't seen before. Also, fun fact, the crystal you get for trading the Starport visa to this woman is unique, and you can't get it anywhere else. The downside is it's a dark side exclusive. Luckily for me, I am the Darth Blender, so it's completely fine for this run. My main issue of Onderon is the main quest is essentially just a back and forth slog. You run into the cantina and leave, and you do that about 4 times until the guy is eventually freed. Once you've actually cleared Dagon's name and he is free, he sends you back into the cantina so you can run back and forth some more. Obviously, when his part's done, you then get to meet Kavar once again in the cantina. Honestly, Onderon would have been great if it added just one other little section or area so you could go to that more to make it a bit more, at least real. When Tobin arrives, I tell HK47 to kill every civilian in sight just to get him going. He then comes back and says pledge loyalty to Vaklu, and I quickly agree. To show him how loyal I am, I kill a bunch of his men before leaving for now. For some reason, ChatGPT didn't quite understand that I had to come back later, so that took a bit of explaining to do to it. It's quite weird how some parts of it just completely understand the game, and then other parts it has no idea what's going on. And with that, I just have Korriban left, mainly because ChatGPT doesn't have a real say on where I can go next. It did tell me to bring HK47 and Atton. Atton has not been used the entire time, so I thought it was a bit weird that they decided to bring him along this time. I was expecting a normal run of Korriban, but it decided to put me in the tomb first instead of doing the academy. I can't lie, I felt completely wrong doing the cave and the tomb first. For me, the tomb is like the creme de la creme of Korriban. I want to do it last, so I leave on a high. So doing it first is going to make the rest of the planet feel really, really flat. Obviously, the cave itself isn't important. You just use Insanity and Force Storm like it's told me to the entire time, and you kind of blitz through the entire area. Being Darkside in the tomb is actually quite easy since everything is just, well, you're really strong here. So you can just see I completely walk through Malak and all his Jedi. And for the Republic troops, I tell them that Visas has feet pics across a bridge and they go storming ahead. And naturally, I get to listen to my favourite dialogue in the entire game at this point.
Apathy is death.
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 Statement: apathy is death.
At this point, I'm thinking, my god, this game is just really easy when I'm doing Darkside. Maybe ChatGPT is giving me a good build. Yeah, I got absolutely stomped by my own projection, and I was fuming because I was expecting it to do what it does if you're light side, where you'll kind of fall down and you'll get dark side points and you'll get punished for dying. When you're dark side, you just die, and surprisingly, I hadn't saved for a while, so I had to do the entire cave and the entire tomb all over again. Second time around, I did not fuck around to find out and just decided to just waltz both of them. With the tomb done, I now have to go to the academy, which again feels completely wrong to me, and I'm a giant nerd. That means I just know all the answers, which 4-year-old me would be love because I could not do this for the life of me. Sadly, there's not much else to the academy. You find the dead Jedi Master. You then get a fight Darth Sion, who's slightly tougher than I'd like, which again is a worrying sign like it was back on Dxun. But with that, minus having to redo the entire tomb, Korriban only took me around 30 minutes, and it's quite easily the quickest and most lifeless planet on the game. Don't get me wrong, I like that it's lifeless, I just wish there was more lifelessness to it. Like in the first game, you get all the tombs and the main, like, shuttling docking area. They should have added a tomb or something like that just to show how dead it truly is, rather than just the, academy and the courtyard. But with everything else wrapped up, it's now back to the Dxun tomb and the palace. And I won't lie, I had to spend about 5 minutes explaining to ChatGPT who I could send to what area before it actually gave me companions I could use in the right places. Sadly for me, since I'm an idiot, I just didn't record the first 75% of the entire tomb, so that footage is gone forever. But to summarise, it was absolutely awful. It told me to take Bayodur, HK and T3 M4, which means I had no Jedi. The issue of not having a Jedi leader is you can't use the dark side force clouds that can boost your stats or give you new force powers. The puzzle boxes I have memorised, so I got no good reports from them because why would I? The only moment of pure joy I got is when I saved that medical droid, so it will always heal me. The downside is when I pulled the lever to open the giant door, it then just teleported me. But it doesn't teleport the medical droid because obviously he's not a true party member. That meant he had to run past the enemies that attack him on sight, which meant he just got destroyed. Basically, being happy isn't for me. But here's a great tip for anyone who doesn't know, you can actually give droids stims. I don't know how they're injecting them, but obviously it's going to make them quite strong, and just look how easily the boss fight goes for me. It's the easiest run I've ever had, and I'm using 2 droids and a Bayodur who absolutely does nothing for me. But after that absolute clusterfuck, I then get to go to the palace, and it told me to take Atton and Kreia. Surprisingly, I've never actually taken Atton here before, mainly because I'm the one who sent him to the tomb every time. I love the man, and I'm sad the voice actor died, so I wish he'd done more work, or at least more work that I was aware of. Like I've said in previous challenges, doing Vaklu's side of the palace quest I find so much more enjoyable, even though it is just the same run to 2 terminals and switch them off to open the doors. Also at this point, I'm hitting over 100 damage for Force Storm, which means everyone's basically dying, and it's probably one of the better builds I could have gotten from the ChatGPT. And yes, I will always have battle meditation just so I can see this scene in the palace where you give them battle meditation so anyone on your side wins their fight. Fighting Gafar is definitely the best Jedi Master fight in the entire game because there's actual relationships there and there's a bit of lore and there's a bit of connection there, and you do get to fight him twice. Unlike Rook, however, he does go down very quickly in the first fights. That's mainly because his ability or the technique he uses makes him weak to force powers, which is my character's entire ordeal. After killing Gafar, Vaklu then asked me to kill the Queen, and I do that as a mercy, not because she's losing her power, but because she's a woman. All jokes aside, however, my god, look at the force choke damage on this. It's 361 a turn. I've never had damage that high, so I'm absolutely going to glaze the fuck out of this. After that, Vaklu decides to glaze me for being super powerful, probably so I don't turn on him and kill him like I've killed everyone else on every other planet. And with that, Onderon is done, it's just the end game left. In the Enclave, because all the Jedi are dead, Kreia decides to commit seppuku, which absolutely cripples my own character. She then lives out my dream by being kidnapped by a gothic woman, potentially to go live in the basement. Sadly for me, like every run, this is when cutscene hell begins, and I have about 5 to 10 minutes of just straight cutscenes that I just can't skip. But at this point, for the first time, I actually used a handmaiden, and it's to kill all our sisters, mainly for dark side points. Honestly, killing the sisters is the hardest part because my god, they are actually quite tanky, especially in the group of 6 they have. Atris is meant to be the queen of this place, but she is a lot weaker than the sisters, and I just stomp her about like usual. My exile then walks in and treats Handmaiden like a abused girlfriend. I simply show no affection to them, but treat them more like property. Luckily for me in the Atris fight, it doesn't trigger straight away since she can't see past this random pillar, so I can just kind of buff myself up. And just like my exile's youth when he crushed our heart, I'm force crushing her body this time. The second phase starts and ChatGPT wants me to do what it would call blender mode, which is just insanity and force storm until they die, and it works pretty goddamn well. I'm to milk dark side points, so I give her false hope that I'm going to let her live before going haha just kidding and then decide to kill her. Sadly, my joy was ill-placed, mainly because I now have to do the HK factory bit. Don't get me wrong, the first time you do this it's pretty cool, however the issue is it's about 40 minutes of just doing rapid shot and then running to the next room and repeating. The other issue is you can't actually skip any of the steps. For example, you need to fail switching off the reactor before you can disable communications. You can't disable them beforehand because the game just won't let you do it. But after about 40 minutes the HK factory is done, which means I can get into Citadel Station once again. The AI hasn't got any smarter either, since it wants me to bring HK and T3M4 in the Citadel station. But since I just did HK's factory, HK isn't actually being able to be played anymore. So I just take Atten, who's a default character here, and add T3 to the party. That's mainly because at this point, after about 20 hours of gameplay, I'd simply given up trying to argue with the AI to make it make a logical decision for once. The most surprising thing is it knew I could still farm some dark side points, so I killed a random Onderon soldier here. However, because I have T3 in my party, he gets upset. And I won't lie, it made me feel like you feel when you step on like a dog's tail or paw and it just whines and makes that noise. It's the exact same feeling. But with that, Telos is done, and it's just a Ravager next to come. The issue with the Ravager, it starts with the longest and skippable cutscene in the entire game. Honestly, this cutscene alone is one of the reasons I blame myself for not completing my 24-hour challenge I did a couple of videos ago. But I do as ChatGPT has told me the entire time, and it just hit everyone with insanity and force storm and just repeat. I find Tobin, I'm hoping to kill him for some dark side points, but instead I just kill one of my favourite characters in this game, which was really upsetting. Vita sees her old cell and she's straight out of Shawshank Redemption, mainly because she's absolutely institutionalised, meaning she essentially has to be in there to function. So she jumps right in there before deciding she's going to commit revenge on Nihilus for killing his entire planet. But finally we meet Nihilus, the big bad on the box art, and he's resistant to almost all of my force powers I throw at him in the first half. Me saying the first half might make you think that I actually sacrifice Thesis in order to debuff Nihilus. However, you'd be completely wrong, since the AI was extremely adamant that Thesis must survive. Not because she's any good, but because it wants her to suffer ultimately. Essentially, you've got the old ChatGPT back where it's just evil and teaches how to make bombs and whatnot. However, the second half of the Nihilus fight goes in a way that I would call Force Crush Inshallah, which is essentially me just hitting him with Force Crush repeatedly until eventually he dies. But it's allowed because it told me I could use Force Crush in this fight. But with that just leaves Malachor V to go, and shockingly, ChatGPT actually went extremely hard on this. And by that, it actually gave me a proper guide for every fight and what to do. So credit where credit's due. Pretty much the entire process is just force storm every single Storm Beast, which I find kind of ironic since they're meant to be, well, you know, Storm Beast. I expect them to be a bit more resistant to Force Storm. It's in the name. But I do clear out most of the area, mainly so the remote section is a bit easier. I mean, just look how easily I killed the giant Storm Beast. It is ridiculous at this point how strong I am. I was expecting a lot worse from this build. Because I cleared out the beast earlier, remote section is easy as always, except this random Storm Beast scared the shit out of me because I forgot to kill him. Obviously we have the Atten fight and it bugs out like all my runs, and I can just buff up first, which is very helpful. But unlike in my previous runs, he does actually kill Scion first time, which I'm very grateful for. Inside the academy, however, I go full Reddit mode, and it's essentially just me hitting Force Storm repeatedly on every single enemy in the area. Since it told me to max out my dark side points, I then do have to kill my entire crew. However, I don't know why this random character moaned like this when they were dying. But with that, I now get to fight Scion, which it gave me a nice little guide to. I won't lie, I did struggle originally, but for some reason he then just became really weak to Insanity, and after that it just became a loop. Hit Insanity once, Force Storm him 3 times, and then reapply Insanity. I do that every fight, and eventually he's just down for the count, and essentially gives up on life. That's something I did when I started working a 9 to 5. But with that, it is just Kreia to go, who I always find the most disappointing of the bosses. Strangely enough though, she doesn't fall for the same issues as Scion. Insanity and Force Storm basically wasn't doing much to her. But then I remembered, like in my 100% video, she's normally weak to the same powers as Nihilus. Nihilus is weak to Force Crush, so I just applied the same logic here and just started hitting her with Force Crush. Again, this is allowed because the chat told me I'm allowed to do this. Our second phase is rougher just because of all the flying lightsabers and they can't really be stunned. So like a true Redditor, I just use Force Storm repeatedly until they all die. Because Kreia's a woman, I don't know what to do with her body, I throw it into the planet, and with that, KOTOR 2 is beaten. And somehow after all that gameplay, ChatGPT has actually beaten KOTOR 2. And I won't lie, it went a lot easier than I thought. Don't get me wrong, people that are using this as a guide 100% should not be doing this. This is a terrible way of learning how to play the game. It knows almost nothing. The only thing it had down was the builds itself. But anyway, guys, tell me what kind of weird builds or weird guides you've used to beat this. I'd love to hear, and I'd love any challenges I could potentially do in the future. But anyway, I will see you guys next time, and take care.